This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast, the only podcast that gives hand relief to the downtrodden and ideas that have made to this very day made Formula One great again. A podcast that has mildly amused you, the people. For the people, by two people. These slightly overweight middle-aged blokes sitting on a couch talking nonsense about a sport they love and pretend to know very little about. Now it's just me, the solo warrior. So light some candles, get some sexy wine or hard liquor, put a towel down, grab the lotion, tissues, and lay back and get comfy on your futon. It's time to go head first, hands down, into this weekend's Italian Grand Prix, and we look back at the Dutch Grand Prix. First, a word about the Queen. She's dead. Now let's talk about the hand jobs for the homeless. It's important, and I do know the Queen was very keen on the charity hand jobs for the homeless. She would go down there frequently and rustle up some nether regions of the downtrodden. Now, we have some talking points from the Dutch Grand Prix. I think it's very important to get those through. So why did Yuki Tsunoda end his race? A car problem? Loose seatbelts? Floppy wheels? We don't know, but if you came up with a conspiracy theory that thought that maybe a Red Bull-owned team caused a safety car or a virtual safety car that allowed Max Verstappen to get a pit, Yuki Tsunoda has this to say to you. You need to scan in an MRI to see what's wrong. He believes you have some kind of mental disease, and I'm with him. He said the tyres are not fitted. Yes, they are. Then his belts were loose. Then there was something wrong with the new tyres, and then he parked it in the sand. Yuki's trying to do a Nelson Piquet. No, not the racist one, the race-fixing one. So it's very important that we think that maybe Tsunoda had something to do with it. Or maybe he's just a bleeding racist. Now, there was a safety car. Now, has Mercedes learnt their lesson? Is it Michael Massey's fault again? Or is this another racist move by bare-ass Bottas? Red Bull gave up the lead to get fresh tyres on. Russell wanted tyres. Lewis wanted Russell to be his rear gunner. He's no Bottas. Could Max have overtaken both Mercedes? Yeah, he would have. Is it important that when there's a safety car late in the race, you get on fresh tyres? Yes, it is. And why didn't they? Did they not learn their lesson from Abu Dhabi, where they were robbed, in inverted commas, by so many people, or maybe put some fresh tyres on and fight? Max gave up prime position to pit earlier. He gave it up. He let them have the lead, knowing full well he'll have a crack later on fresher tyres, on better tyres. And he did that. George did the exact same thing. Guess what happened? He got past Lewis. Now, even if they were both, like, I know what Jenson Button was saying. Jenson was saying that it's important that we have, that if he had two cars and have George Russell as a rear gunner, how quick do you think Max was going to overtake him? If he didn't pit, they're both on old used tyres, they're both going to get overtaken in very quick time. They were going to get overtaken by Charles Leclerc as well, which would have happened. They're just not thinking. George did the right thing. Lewis didn't. He wasn't adamant enough. He wanted to stay in that position. You can overtake in Zandvoort. We saw it all throughout the weekend. We saw some fantastic overtaking maneuvers in a variety of places that you wouldn't even expect. Mercedes haven't learnt. When there is a safety car, you need some fresh boots because there's not. The guy's right behind you. He's got fresh boots on. What the fuck are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to let it happen. You're going to roll over and play dead. And then you're going to get angry and, I'm so angry on the radio. And Lewis Hamilton throwing out F-bombs left, right, and centre. I like that part of Lewis. I think he should swear more often. I don't think you should blame your team. George went and said, you know what? We want some fresh tyres. Give him some fresh tyres. Let's get in there. Let's get on some fresh boots. No. And it's your own fault. You lost the race. You didn't want to battle. You didn't want to have Max in front of you because you didn't feel you had, and you didn't have the pace. Max had to stay on old tyres for you guys to win. That's my take on the safety car. Now, the next bit, I am sick of seeing rubbish Ben Sulayem in every chance they can angle him in a shot. Hey, El Presidente, go posture around the FIA karting events and give the trophies out and get off my screen. Do it somewhere else. I'm sick of seeing your face in Formula One. You've got other categories. Now go and annoy them. Go and look and see if anyone's got any piercings, anything strange or odd, if they're wearing the right underwear. Go and check in another racing category. I'm sick of seeing your face. Just fuck off. Dutch women, I think we can all agree Dutch women are smoking hot and gorgeous. The men look like red-faced drunks, which even when I was there, I can only agree that the Dutch men are red-faced drunks. Even when it's, early morning, they are red-faced drunks. Now, I have an idea to make Formula One great again. That's what this podcast is about. It's about making Formula One great again. We have it with fantastic charities. We have the Nuremberg Grand Prix. We even have the memory of our dear departed Speckled Jim. Speckled Jim was our fighting rooster. He would raise funds in the cockfighting arena. He only won once, but that was a big payday for producer Pete. And also I want to give a shout out to Pete and his new business. He's got a side hustle going on. It's called Pete's Meat. No one can beat Pete's Meat. Pete knows that for sure. No one is beating his meat. It's just him. But the one idea that can make Formula One great again, and a permanent spot of commentary for Jenson Button. And can someone please break Nico Rosberg from the room his wife has locked him up in? We know you're suffering there, Nico. We can tell it in your eyes. You need to break out, my friend. Someone go to Monaco, find that room and get him out. We need some special ops. Maybe the A-team. I'm giving the race rating 8 out of 10. There was parts that were a little bit dull. Thank God for the safety car that brought it all back and nice and close, because I think when there was a 12-second lead, they weren't going to catch Max. Then that beautiful safety car out. Made it all happen, made the event more successful. So Max first, George Russell second, Charles Leclerc third, a sweary Hamilton later on in the race. He was fourth. The awards for this Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. Now, I'm going to give a new award. It's called the Dickhead Award. Might call it the Adam Award. For throwing flares onto the track and being an outright knobhead. Now, there was actually footage that it was a security guard who threw the second one onto the track. That's the one that rolled in down towards the end of the pit main straight. It was a security guard, and someone should have at least punched him in the guts. I'm not one for violence, but I think sometimes you need to punch a security guard in the gut who throws a flare onto a live racing track. Someone, give him a quick jab. Who cares? The Green Award for lowering the carbon footprint, for thinking about the environment, and I'm giving that to Yuki Tsunoda. He was one of those drivers that doesn't know where to park. One of those drivers you go in and the parking lot is empty. And this one driver, you'll see them, and they don't know where to park. It's like they're spoiled for choices and they can't make up their mind. Then when they park, they reverse and try and get it straight because they fucked it up the first time because there was nothing in their way to get it right the first time. That is what Yuki Tsunoda did. He just drove around, didn't know where to park, did another lap, then didn't know where to park again. You found your park, you fucked the race. Good job, Yuki. You get the Green Award for saving some fuel, thinking about the environment and lowering your carbon footprint. The next one is the Lick It and Send It Award. This is for the greatest overtaking manoeuvre at the Dutch Grand Prix. Now, there was two that I saw that were standout pearlers. Now, Lando Norris on lap 1, he took Russell and it was beautiful around the outside. So congratulations, Lando Norris. But I'm also giving a second one. Pete's been very busy whittling when he's not making and beating his meat. It's Kevin Magnussen for taking 2 drivers around the outside of turn 7 on lap 1. It was a beautiful, beautiful maneuver. He just stuck it around the outside and it stuck. Good job, Kevin. The Pastor Maldonado Award. He did fuck it up the next lap, lap 2. He hit the wall. He went backwards very, very quickly. But now is the Pastor Maldonado Award for dangerous driving, and I'm giving it to Sebastian Vettel, the finger boy, for absolutely cunting it up on the exit of pit lane in front of Lewis. When Lewis overtook Sergio Perez, there was a side-by-side fight with those two. Lewis got ahead, he was charging forward, and then Vettel comes out of pit lane and just fucking blocked him. Just stuck it right in the middle. Even when they went to the little banked corner, turn 3, got it right in the middle, didn't get out of the way, just ignored what was going on. Like, you know what? I'm going to be an absolute cunt. And he did. Congratulations, Sebastian. The Effing One Podcast Award for making Formula One great again. Now we're giving it to Valtteri bare-ass Bottas for parking it properly and to get an exciting finish. Now, Yuki, take some notes, son. If you want to park the car and you want to cause a safety car, like the old PK friend of yours, do it properly. Do it like Bottas. The Yuji Ide Award for wasting everyone's time, we're giving to the man who just finished ahead of Nicholas Latifi. That's right, it's Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian who is so far without a drive for next year. Some were murmuring that he might be taking Lewis's spot. I can't see that happening. Lewis rubbished it, and he also said it'll be a waste for him to be a reserve driver. There was a clip of him talking to Sergio, that he said, I'll just take a year off and come back a year later. Don't know where that will be, don't know who that will be with, but Daniel Ricciardo may not be on the grid next year unless he wants a deal with Haas, or he manages to get at AlphaTauri. Can't see that happening. Alpine looks like they're set on Gasman, and AlphaTauri look like they're set to get Colton Herta from IndyCar. Now, Colton Herta is a very quick driver. He makes a few mistakes in the last couple of years, but he is very quick. He can win races. And there were some people, there's some F1, what they call gatekeeping, where they just think that everyone should do the exact same thing as every other driver, and you can't, if you don't have enough super license points, you shouldn't be allowed in Formula One. And the IndyCar, which is, I believe, the second best showcase of talent for open wheel racing, motorsport. Some people have said, IndyCar and Formula One is a completely different sport. It's not. It's motorsport. Just sort of let you know. It's also open wheel. The IndyCars have no power steering. They don't have tyre warmers like the Formula One drivers. So their driving might be a little bit more difficult. They have an aero screen instead of a halo. They have different tyre compounds that they need to use in a race. The G-loads, the braking probably isn't as severe in cornering and braking as a Formula One car, but these guys can drive this limit. The Will Powers tested Formula One cars. There's, Romain Grosjean, Marcus Ericsson, who are there, who are being competitive. So you can imagine that there's guys there who could compete. Colton Herta may not be the best option in my eyes. I think someone like Scott McLaughlin, who is a New Zealand boy, was an Australian supercar champion. That guy is a talent and a half. He's gone to IndyCar with no open wheel experience in his career that led up to supercars. And he's won races. He has learnt, he's evolved, and I think next year he could probably be champion. But if there's anyone on that grid who I think is young enough and who is adaptable enough to drive a Formula One car, it is Scott McLaughlin. I also thought Joseph Newgarden a couple of years ago, but probably not the case now. Newgarden is very consistent, could still win the championship this year. Scott Dixon, probably too old. Will Power, probably too old, but these two guys were certainly quick enough. And everyone's like, they need these certain super license points. Let's just look at people who do have super license points, who made it to Formula One. Nicholas Latifi. Yep. Nicholas Latifi got into Formula One. Then Nikita Mazepin made it into Formula One. Tasso Marquez. Alex Young. Now, Alex Young was about 3 seconds a lap slower than his teammate Mark Webber at Minardi. He had a super license. These guys didn't deserve to have a place in Formula One. There is better drivers out there than Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll's held his hand up and done some good drives, but there could be someone who's better than them, like the Nick de Vries, the Stoffel Van Dorn. Unfortunately, Stoffel had 2 years behind Fernando Alonso. Not many people have gone wheel to wheel with Alonso and done a good job. But there is drivers out there who should be in Formula One. There is IndyCar drivers that have the ability to drive fast in Formula One. Definitely better than probably a third of the grid. Yuki Tsunoda, Nicholas Latifi, I even don't rate Sergio Perez. He's consistent, he's good, but he's not setting the world alight. Bottas can fuck off, Zhou can fuck off. Giovinazzi, he's just doing a test roll now. Mick Schumacher, sorry Mick, you're a great kid, but I don't think you're at this level. Kevin Magnussen, probably too old. Daniel Ricciardo, struggling. But there would be guys in IndyCar that I reckon Simona Di Silvestro, probably the second fastest female in motorsport at the moment, behind Jamie Chadwick, could beat Nicholas Latifi in a Formula One car. Jamie Chadwick could beat Nicholas Latifi in a Formula One car. These people don't have the super license points. The points are flawed. It just doesn't make sense. Only the person who wins an IndyCar series has enough super license points to join Formula One. I believe IndyCar is tighter, more difficult than the F2 series. Also, F2, all those drivers don't get a pay packet. They actually get their sponsors to pay for their drives in good teams. That's why Chadwick couldn't go to Formula 2, because she didn't have enough money to get in a top team. She didn't want to get to Formula 2 in a shit team. Understandably, it'll ruin your reputation. You want to be in a top team. Williams need to step in and make that happen. IndyCar, these drivers make a living. They earn a living. They are professional racing car drivers in this category. And I do believe that many of those drivers could come to Formula One and be very, very competitive, and even better than some that we have in there right now. Points, fuck the points. Give them a car. Tell them if they don't make this lap time, which would be within, I would say 103%, because there is a 107% rule in Formula One in terms of qualifying. Give them a 103% rule. If you can consistently, like an XF1 driver who used to have a super license, need to do 300 kilometers at race distance, at race pace, to show that they are good enough to be back in Formula One. Do that now. Give Colton Herta 300 kilometers. He has to make up this time and be at a consistent race pace, then give him the super license. Fuck the championship standings. Fuck these points. Put anyone in F1, if they can drive a car at race speed at a certain time, with certain tyres, whatever you want to do, set the parameters. Don't make it, this championship doesn't make sense. You don't get as many points as this championship, and this championship is okay. You can get into there. No, fuck that. Just leave it be. Let it happen. Give them an opportunity to test a Formula 1 car. They've got free practice 1. They're putting a lot of young drivers in that. Chuck them in the car. Let's see how they can go. Anyway, I've still got one more award, and it's the Your Shit award. Now, that award certainly does come with a significant intro, and here it is. That's right, it's the Your Shit award. One of my favourite awards to hand out, especially with that rousing intro, just gets the hair standing up on the back of your neck. The Your Shit award goes to Mercedes. Mercedes AMG Petronas, the team that should have won a race, could, didn't learn their lesson. You didn't win. You were in front. You did lead, but you didn't win. Did you learn anything from Abu Dhabi? You don't have Michael Massey to complain or blame, so you need to pick up your game. Didn't mean to rhyme. The fastest lap was Max Verstappen, 1 minute 13.652. The fastest pit stop was Red Bull Racing with a 2.09 second stop. Now, for those of you that's stopping to a dead stop, taking 4 tyres off, putting 4 tyres on, dropping the car and the car going in 2.09 seconds. I know one person who can do something like that in 2.9 seconds. Give it up for Pete's Meat, everyone. Yes, well done, Pete. The driver of the day was Max Verstappen, voted by you at home. Probably made the wrong choice there. The Turd Championship, the championship that everyone really cares about. Now, Max Verstappen is well in the lead in regards to the normal, regular championship. But let's talk about the Turd Championship. That is now being given, just on top of the Turd, Pete has put a Speckled Jim. Because no one was shitter than Speckled Jim with 127 bouts, 126 losses. The one win, his opponent did manage to collapse in the ring. But hey, we take that as a win. It was a big financial win for us, considering we actually put money on him that time. So Nicholas Latifi is on negative 156 points. Now, if you finish dead last in a race, you get negative 25 points. So it's the opposite of the championship points. Understand? So, first, Max Verstappen gets positive 25 points. Yuki Tsunoda comes dead last, gets negative 25 points. That's how the system works. 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1 points in the negative. So Latifi, he had his gap completely shrunk up by Swery Tsunoda. He's now on 143, only 13 points behind Latifi, Yuki Tsunoda, in a car that isn't as bad as the Williams, especially in Latifi's hands. Junior Schumacher, negative 122 points. The Great Wall of China, Zhou Guanyu, negative 114. Then it's Suck My Balls Magnussen with 108 negative points. The next up is the TIE Fighter, Alexander Albon, in negative 90 points. Then Bare-ass Bottas, negative 88. Now, the best driver in regards to this Turd Championship is the talented Nico Hülkenberg. He's on negative 14 points. That kid is very, very good. Now, a big jumper in the points was Bottas, and the personality Ricciardo on negative 76 points, tied with Gasman Gasly. Now, we'll go to the Tipping Championship. We have a Tipping Championship on Twitter. If you jump on the Twitter, the pinned tweet there will give you 2 links. One's for qualifying, one's for the race. If you win, if you beat me, which I've won the first 2 seasons of the tipping competition, you will win something that I will send you somewhere wherever you are. I don't know what it will be. It could be a hat, could be a sticker, it could be Pete's dick pic, or it could be a section of Adam's hair from his lower back. We don't know what it'll be, but we'll send you something in the mail, or I could send you some toenail clippings if you like. The tips, it was a tough week for me, I'll give you that. Luke and Cliff got 11, so did T and Pete. Jim absolutely spanked us all. Jim with his 16 points, just 16 points. Calm down. You got 16 points. Pat got 13. So Pat is in the lead. He's taken a 2-point advantage over myself. 200 points for Pat. 197 for Jim, closing that gap to 1 point to me. I'm on 198. Cliff's 194. Then T is on 179. And Pete 175. The track, the Monza track, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. That's Aussie Italian for those of you playing at home. Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Bonza Monza, we call it. There is 2 DRS zones, one down the main straight, the other one from the exit of turn 7 down to the back chicane. They probably could have added a third, but they're being dicks about it. The circuit length is 5.793 kilometers, 53 laps around Monza. The first Grand Prix was in 1950, the first year of Formula One. The race distance is 306.72 kilometres, and the track record during the race is a 1 minute 21.046 held by Brazilian Rubens Barrichello in 2004, driving the F2004, a beautiful car, very dominant car for Ferrari those years. And let's look at the tyre situation. Everyone only listens to this podcast to hear about what I have to say about the tyres. It's a C2, C3 and C4, the three middle compounds of this 5 Pirelli compounds we have. The minimum starting pressure for the front is 25.5 psi and 22.5 psi on the rear. The front is a negative 3 degrees camber. You can't go more than that. Anything more than 3 degrees and you will get a punch in the tit. Then the rear is negative 2 degrees on the rear. Again, if you are beyond that 2 degree angle of camber on your rear tyre, you may get slapped in the bollocks. That is the new rules according to FIA boss Rubbish Bin Sulayem. The weather, it looks to be a bit cloudy Friday, a little bit cloudy Saturday, and bearing sun on Sunday. Temperatures 26, 27 and 28 across the 3 days. Minimum temps of 16 across all 3 days. It does change. They're consistent in Monza. Get some pizza into you. The race times, Auckland, it's the same as last weekend. Auckland 1 a.m, Nerang, Melbourne 11 p.m, Adelaide 10:30, Perth 9 p.m, Kathmandu, Nepal. If you're planning on summiting Mount Everest, just wait, watch the race, do it the next day. I don't care if the weather window's closing up. Watch the race, then fuck off, go up there and do it then. Dubai 5 p.m, Helsinki 4 p.m, Stockholm 3 p.m, London 2 p.m, Sao Paulo 10 a.m, New York 9 a.m, Los Angeles 6 a.m, and Honolulu in Hawaii, I unfortunately want to tell you it's at 3 a.m. once again. So meanwhile, while you're basking in the glow of one of your many volcanoes, it's 3 a.m. to watch the race. Now, last year, there was a sprint race at Monza. Bottas got pole, took the sprint race win, then gets dumped to the back of the grid to give himself a new engine. And I believe this weekend, probably half the grid will take more engine penalties just to get it over and done with, so they have a fresh engine in the bank. And it's an easy track to overtake here in Monza. But last year, Daniel Ricciardo takes the win ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, the only Team 1-2 of 2021. He beat Verstappen off the line and kept him behind for the first stint, but then a rare, slow Red Bull Racing pit stop put him back with his nemesis, Hamilton. And when Hamilton had his pit stop, Max tried to hang it around the outside, making contact with Lewis. He just did not give up, just basically like, I'm going to drive into the side of this bastard. And he did. He mounted him and made contact with Lewis, and an attempted beheading, the first of its kind since 1870 in Italy. The last beheading by guillotine, I think it's called guillotine, I call it guillotine, was in 1970 in France. Yeah, that's the last guillotine beheading. Maybe there's other beheadings around the world, but that's the last beheading by guillotine. And for Max Verstappen for taking Lewis out, no loss for his points. It was a clear Schumacher-style move, realising he needed to make that move, and if it didn't work, he was going to take him out. Then he tried to reverse on Hamilton's head, didn't quite work. Hamilton tried to reverse with half his airbox missing. Both of them got out. One was marching back, quite proud that he took another driver out of the race. The other one was moping. No surprises who was moping. This weekend, being the Italian Grand Prix, there is Italian food. It will be everywhere in my stomach. I'm going to be eating a shit ton of pizza this weekend. I love pizza, and I'm not afraid to tell you. Eat pizza, eat merry. My size and weight could end up being enough to make up for the loss of my co-host, who remains firmly in Epstein Island. Adam, come back. Your family are waiting for you. They're keen to see you. Enjoy the race weekend of Monza. Eat some pizza. Put some olive oil on everything you do. Talk to everyone in bad Italian. but enjoy the race. Cheers, cunts.